evening and welcome along to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub with me, Dan Bates, Wes Morgan and Jerry Taggart. Join me this evening as we build up to Southampton against Leicester in the Championship. It's been a long couple of weeks, hasn't it, since that defeat to Hull after the international break. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's team news, which is hot off the press as we are an hour away from kick-off. As we know, club football is now back, but a number of Foxes represented their nations over the break, some of those as recently as Tuesday. So Enzo Maresca had some thinking to do and he's made 3 changes to that side that faced Hull just under 2 weeks ago. In comes James Justin for his first league start of the season. Mavididi and Jamie Vardy are the other 2 who return to the starting 11, with Fass, Iheanacho and Yunus dropping to the bench. Here's the 11 then in full. It's Mads Hermansen in goal. Callum Doyle, Vestergaard and James Justin make up the back 3. We think with Ricardo obviously potentially off the left-hand side moving into midfield. Winks, Dewsbury Hall and Ndidi in the middle, with Mavididi and McAteer either side of Jamie Vardy, who starts on the bench for the Foxes. Stolarczyk, Fass, Connor Cody, a chance to see him make his competitive debut for the club, hopefully this evening if he does come off the bench if needed. Cassidy, Iheanacho, Yunus Akjung, Hamza Chowdhury, Fatawu and Daka. From a Southampton point of view, their manager Russell Martin has had to deal with quite a lot in his first few months in charge of the Saints. Numerous incomings and outgoings means the start to the season for them has been mixed. The South Coast side have the worst defensive record in the division, having conceded 12 in their opening 5 games. That included 5 at the Stadium of Light in their last game a couple of weeks ago before that international break. He makes 4 changes to the side, with Taylor, Harwood, Bellis coming in, Ryan Fraser, Shea Charles and Shea Adams also returning to the starting 11. This is their 11 then in full. It's Bazunu in goal, Manning, Harwood, Bellis, Charles and Carl Walker-Peters across the back 4. Flynn Downs, Adam Armstrong and Will Smallbone in that midfield. Armstrong potentially playing just off Shea Adams, with Ryan Fraser and Edozie either side of that man, Shea Adams up front. Well, that's all the team news then out of the way. We'll give you reminders of those throughout as we build up to kick-off. Before we do that, though, we've got to introduce our guests this evening, Jerry Taggart and Wes Morgan. Wes, welcome along. You're making your debut here on Fox's Hub, the first time in the studio.
Yeah, it's my debut, first time in the studio. Nice looking place, and happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, more nervous for this than you were making your football debut, were you?
Yeah, almost.
Jerry, welcome along.
Good evening
to you. Exactly. The experienced hand, Jerry, next to him.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back. Obviously, after the international break, it's been a long couple of weeks. Both teams having a lot to ponder. After both teams lost their last result, obviously, Southampton getting well and truly beat up at Sunderland. Leicester going down to another defeat against Hull. So a lot of pondering for both managers and the players leading into this massive game.
Yeah, we've got plenty to get through this evening, including catching up, of course, with Wes, who's had a busy couple of years, including a trip to Thailand in the last month as well. We're going to hear from Kiernan Dewsbury Hall as well. He's been at his old club, Sheds Dynamo, where he first played for them around 8 or 9 years old, and he previews this game with Southampton. We'll take a look at 8 of the best strikes scored in August in Fox's colours. You can choose your favourite on lcfc.com. And it's a Friday night, we're playing away at Southampton. We're obviously going to be looking back at that Friday evening 4 years ago. Crazy to think that was 4 years ago. Wes, firstly though, what have you been up to, really, since you retired from the game? I know you're very busy, doing a lot with the club still.
Yeah, just enjoying retirement, you know. Was in the game a long time, and it does take its toll, you know. So first and foremost, you know, taking a bit of time out for myself, you know, trying to do everything not to do with football, and just probably just watch it from the, you know, from my sofa more or less, and yeah, just give my body, you know, time to recover and rest. And like I said, it's been a long time playing, and yeah, you mentioned being involved with the club, you know, coming on these shows and doing small things like this. Went to Thailand and Singapore with the first team in pre-season, which was great, and you know, still involved in a lot of different areas, and started golf as well, you know, which is a new experience, very frustrating experience, but something I'm starting to enjoy.
Yeah, Jerry's face lit up when you said that four-letter word beginning with G.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's golf's the new football when you retire. You know, you have to keep yourself competitive somehow, and obviously, the older we get, the less we can run around. Even though Wes, I know he's playing a couple of charity games recently as well. Have you found retirement, Wes? You know, from the day retired, because you hear a lot of stories about ex-players struggling, don't you, with going into retirement?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate to probably last longer than most. I retired at 37. It still feels quite fresh, and I think, you know, it gets to the stage where the young kids are getting a lot faster than you. You're getting a bit slower. You're not playing as much. The aches and pains are getting worse, not going away like they used to. Yeah. And you start to ponder, you know, is it time? And, you know, like I mentioned, I've had a long time in the game, which was great. And I think I was ready. You know, I was ready, and I started to prepare for finishing football and what I was going to do after. So got myself involved in lots of different areas, and I've quite enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah, and hopefully many more sat on this sofa in the coming seasons. Let's embarrass him a little bit now for the next minute or so. We're going to take a look back at some of his finest moments in a Leicester City shirt.
Lifted in towards Morgan! It's in! Wes Morgan, the skipper! A thumping header from Wes Morgan! Towards Morgan. The captain plays his role. And Wes Morgan heads it in. Leicester hit back like champions. It is a captain's goal from Wes Morgan. And it's a winning goal. What a goal from Wes Morgan.
Did you know that the lid came off the trophy as he lifted it?
No, not till I watched it back, you know. But there's a lot of header goals there, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, where's the highlight reel of the ones with the feet?
I mean, when you look back at that, 9.5 years with the club, you must be so proud of everything that you achieved here.
Yeah, you know, just looking back and seeing so many highlights, so many great moments. You know, it's just when you look back and reflect and you see what you've achieved and what you've accomplished for the club is when you really appreciate it and really enjoy it. In the moment you're playing, and sometimes it's, you know, don't really get to fully enjoy you know, that time and that moment. You know, looking back, it's great, and always enjoy that.
I guess that's quite a difficult thing, Jerry, as a player, to do that, to try and be in the moment, particularly when you win things. I mean, the Premier League title is a good example of that. Okay, you win it and you celebrate, and you did celebrate, of course. Leicester did in general, but then you think, okay, we've got the Champions League in a couple of months. There's no dwelling on anything, success or failure, really.
Yeah, I think, you know, Wes is right. I think when you look back on your career, or you come into, you know, shows like this, and people, or you go to like a Q&A or whatever, and people bring stuff up on the videos, and you realise that actually what you achieved, and it gives you a chance to sit down, reflect. You might watch a couple of videos with your kids or whatever, who were probably a bit too young to realise what went on when you were playing football. But you really do get a sense after you sit down, relax, and play it through your mind how you thought it was, and then realise it's, wow, it was slightly different. I forget that goal or that goal. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Is there we just watched a lot of goals there. Was there a favourite goal that you scored in your time at Leicester?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, because there's a few, you know, some of them I quite forget.
Some big goals as well.
Exactly, you know, the Burnley away was 10 man down, was down to 10 men, and I came on after 5 minutes because Harry Maguire got sent off, so thrown in the deep end. I think we maybe 1-0 down as well in that. But to get the winner in that game, you know,
Horrible
it was a great victory. Yeah, horrible day away at Burnley. Can't get any worse. But you know, that was a big goal. You know, I really enjoyed that one, and got to mention the Champions League goal. You know, to score in the Champions League and to do as well as we did in the competition, that probably a lot of people would have had us down as, you know, probably not even getting through the group stages.
Yeah.
It was fantastic also.
That was a great achievement.
That Sevilla night must be one of the top
amazing
nights in your life, not just your footballing career, but in your life. And a lot of Leicester fans, 32,000, probably will say the same thing.
Yeah, you know, for me, being a football fan, normally I'm at home or at my friends watching Champions League, listening to the music and getting prepared for a great European match, and to be a part of that, to hear that iconic music that comes on before the game, and you know, to actually perform and actually score, you know, in that, and
not with your
great
head
history. Yeah, and I don't know what part of the body that was.
Did you know exactly what you were doing, or was it a bit more push and shove?
Well,
just waiting in?
with that goal,
Yeah.
well, you know, I knew where the ball was
matter.
going to go, so I just tried to put my body in the way and
Yeah.
try and, you know,
That's it.
direct it towards goal. But
Not that it matters.
it doesn't matter, you know. I celebrated like it was 30 yards out into top corner.
Yeah, there was great moments that evening. I mean, Mark Albrighton's celebration was fantastic as well, wasn't it? He sort of ran all the way to see his family, didn't he? And then he was mobbed by all the players. And just in general, and at full time, the noise, the passion, the celebrations, something else really.
It's incredible, you know, and I think we was one of the only English remaining clubs at that stage to progress to that next stage. So, no, it was fantastic time, fantastic achievement. Hopefully Leicester can return to those days at some point in the near future.
Before that, obviously in the title-winning season, a big goal. You got to mention the Old Trafford goal.
Yeah, you know, I think because of the occasion and at the stage of the season where we could have won it in this game, but to score that goal and to get a point, which proved to be enough that got us over the line because of the other result with Chelsea and Tottenham, is fantastic. And that goal was extra special because my mum don't come to many games, and she came to that one and she was in the away stand. And I slid on my knees and pointed to my mum. So not many people knew that, and yeah, it's a very special moment. And you know, to do it at Old Trafford is fantastic.
That point there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard that. You obviously don't really tell that story very often. It's out there now, though.
It's out there for everyone.
Yeah, fantastic moment. And I guess, Jerry, just you've won things obviously with this football club as well as Wes, and you still get mobbed by supporters even this many years later. You can't imagine what it's
Oh
like.
yeah, well yeah. Listen, we played in 2 cup finals, lost 1-1. It was many moons ago. The main man that day was Big Matty. You know, it was Matty's final, but you know, we all played our part in making sure we got over the line. A momentous occasion, and again, it was like, yes, you celebrate on the pitch, you go up Wembley steps and you lift the trophy, and then you go and have a party afterwards to celebrate properly with the players, the families and everybody else. But it's only when you sit down after you retire and realise, you know, what you did, what you achieved for the club, you go, yeah, you know, I did okay. But Wes, that's on a different level. You know, Premier League, FA Cup, quarter-final of Champions League, you know, Community Shield.
Yeah, I guess the FA Cup one was because of the supporter situation during COVID, that there weren't that many. Maybe the celebrations weren't as much as players. You definitely made sure that you celebrated it. But this moment, you still were able to lift this in front of Leicester fans.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because obviously with the COVID, there was no fans all season. So there's a staggered return of fans, and to be fair, the fans at that game, even though it wasn't a full stadium, was so loud and so vocal. You know, it was incredible. And for the players, it's been so long without a crowd there to, you know, to get you going and to, you know, to celebrate when you score. When we had the fans back, you know, it definitely gave us extra impetus to, you know, go as far as we can, and obviously we got a result.
How was that, playing with no fans? Because obviously,
Yeah.
either I was commentating or Big Matty was commentating, and it was eerie to begin with. And then you sort of got used to the fact that, you know, you're in a stadium with no fans, but actually playing on the pitch. How did you compute that?
Yeah, I think players probably, you know, dealt with it differently. You know, for me, I don't want to say it was like a training match, but you know, you can hear everybody, you can hear the coaches much better, you know. So in terms of communication, it helped in that sense. But I did find it difficult, probably to, you know, I'm used to coming out to the crowd cheering, and then your blood, adrenaline starts pumping, and you're raring to go. Yeah. So you have to really dig deep to try and, you know, find that extra buzz to get you going. And then once you're playing on the pitch and you're competitive, you know, you get up to speed, but it does take time to get into that. And like you said, you know, you do get used to it once you played a few games.
And imagine it couldn't be easy to begin with. You know, walking out on the pitch, it's a competitive game, it's a league game. In your head, you know that you've got to get going, but you haven't got that kick that the crowd gives you, or that the build-up gives you, the music gives you when you walk out onto the pitch. Now, you know, the whole atmosphere within a stadium now just gives you that extra little bit of lift to get yourself going. That little one might only be 1%, might only be 0.5%, but it does help. It does work its magic.
Yeah, I mean, final point really now, but on that FA Cup day in particular, it was like a home game, wasn't it, in terms of the Leicester fans compared to the Chelsea fans cheering you on, and it was a great way for you to say goodbye as well, going out on the highest of highs in winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, you know, for me it was a really difficult season. You know, probably decided midway through the season, you know, probably I'm going to hang up the boots come the end, and really struggled throughout the season with injury, and I don't think I was involved in the team from probably around about December, you know, so I was fighting hard to make a return, so probably just to say goodbye to the fans, you know. And funny enough, got fit enough to be included in the FA Cup squad for the final game, which was great, you know. So I was more than happy just to be involved in the squad. Got a call from Brendan in the morning saying, you know, I'm going to put you on a bench, will you be okay? I was like, absolutely, you know, can I have one leg, I'm still going to be okay. And then, yeah, you know, to come on, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen, but to come on and help the team and to see out the game and to lift the trophy with Casper, you know, I couldn't think of probably a better way to probably end my career and, you know, say bye to the fans.
Yeah, I guess in that moment you had no doubts that was it. That was your goodbye, your perfect goodbye.
Yeah, you know, there's still a couple more games to go.
Yeah,
but I was happy just to, you know, sit on the bench and say, you know, when I talk to people, my final ever game was the FA Cup final.
What a way to go out.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Right, let's move on to present day Leicester City then. A few years after that, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall very much the driving force in the midfield now for the Foxes. We sat down with him at his first ever club at Shepshed Dynamo a couple of weeks ago, and he's talked about his journey into the first team here at Leicester City, and he also previewed the game with Southampton tonight. Obviously, after the international break, it's Southampton. That'll be a really tough test, won't it? Another fellow relegated side from last season.
Yeah, very tough test. Great manager, great young English manager that wants to play good football. Seeing them this season, got some good results, playing some really good stuff. And pretty similar to us, I've got a squad that isn't far off Premier League quality. So it's a big game for us, it's a big game for the league, and yeah, I'm hoping that when it comes to it that we're going to be completely ready, which we will be, to get 3 points.
It'll be an interesting battle because, as you say, they look to play in a similar way. They look to keep a lot of the ball, so that might be an intriguing battle.
Yeah, I think it'll be almost like a bit of a chess match. Very tactical battle with moments of quality, hopefully, that will be from our end more than theirs. Yeah, we're going to have to try and stifle the way they play, and then enforce the way we play. That's the aim of the game, and I'm sure that through the international break we'll be gearing up for that, and then come the game we'll be ready in all departments.
And now, you know, you look at the start that you've made, the confidence must be there in the group, in the dressing room, that you know you're capable of picking up results in any game.
Confidence is really high at the moment. The lads are in great spirits, dressing rooms is really good. So it's about keeping that momentum. The manager talks about having a winning mentality, and that's what everybody in the team is trying to grasp at the moment, because I feel like once you've got that and you've got the confidence, then you can be a real force to be reckoned with. So that's what we've got to continue to do. Don't get too complacent. Look, it's a good start, but it's a long old season, so making sure we take it game by game and then see where it takes us.
Yeah, it's no secret what the target is for the club and for the team this season, and you all have that belief. Enzo clearly has that belief that it is more than capable of bouncing straight back.
For sure. Look, me personally, there's only one target this season. Anything else is almost a failure in my eyes. We need to be looking to get promoted, and it's as simple as that. So we've got all the fundamentals, we've got all the tools for it. So there's no reason why we can't do it, and that's what everybody's getting that mentality to enforce, and the gaffer's right at the heart of that. So you need that confidence. You need that confidence to think you can go straight back up, and all of us have that. So it's about putting it out on the pitch now.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm sure all the Leicester fans will be pleased to hear that. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Kieran. We'll let you get over to your mum's for a cup of tea then.
Yeah.
Just round the corner.
Yeah, a 2-minute drive, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Well, that conversation with Kieran took place at his first ever club, Shepshed Dynamo. You can watch that full feature amongst many others available for free on Fox's Hub. There we go. That's all available for you on Fox's Hub. Some really good features there, particularly the one with Will Alves and Sammy Braybrook on their return to training after their ACL injuries. Obviously, we heard in the interview, Jerry, that the target is clear, isn't it? The belief is there in the team that they've got what it takes to bounce straight back up. And what we've seen so far, the evidence has been good. OK, there was a defeat last time out. Could easily have been a lot more, couldn't it, with a little bit of luck that day. So the signs are good at the moment.
Yeah, I think, if you at the beginning of the season said we're going to win the first 4 out of 5, create history basically by winning your first 4 league games, which hasn't been done before in my knowledge anyway, then you'd have to say, yeah, that's a good start. But it's just interesting listening to Kieran there saying about complacency. And there's no tougher slog than trying to get out of the Championship. It's one thing to survive in the Championship and spend half your life there. It's a totally different thing getting out of the Championship and back into the Premier League. It is hard work, because we spoke about Leicester being one of the pre-season favourites. They've got a target on their back. It's a cup final for a lot of the teams in this league, and so that makes it that little bit more difficult. Especially, again, you're going away to Southampton, another team that at the beginning of the season were probably quite well fancied. They score a lot of goals, they concede a lot of goals. They've just come off the back of a 5-0 thrashing, so their mindset tonight, you would have to think, is going to be right on it, which is going to make it a really difficult game.
Particularly given the fact that Southampton came down with Leicester as well. That adds to that. There's possibly, arguably on paper, 2 of the better teams in the division going head-to-head tonight. Yeah,
you could say that, but I think it's important to understand, in this league, it's so tough. There's going to be so many ups and downs. There's going to be so many spells where teams will be on a winning streak and then they'll be on a losing streak. And I think it's important just to stay confident, stay, motivated on the task and focused on what needs to be done, because you can't get distracted with a couple back-to-back losses, because the games come thick and fast, and you have to realise that and understand it could be a blip, and to get back onto that winning streak, because it's tough. And Keenan mentioned that, and it's important that the players understand that, and I think Enzo probably relays that message quite frequently.
I mean, yeah, as you've mentioned, you've both obviously come up from this division. Momentum is a word that's used an awful lot, and particularly when it gets to the winter months, when it's Saturday, Tuesday. If you're winning games, you must want them to be coming straight away, really. And the opposite if you're losing them.
Yeah, for me personally, I used to love it in the season. I spent half my career in the Championship, so well used to it. And there's not much training. You literally play, recover, prepare for the next game, and then play again. And you could be on that cycle for a few months. Especially if you're doing well in the cup competition. So it's very important to recover well, prepare as best as you can, and make sure you're right for the game. And with the coaching staff, the manager and the team, it's fantastic that they're I know they'll be preparing the team for the best and making sure they're right for the games.
The one thing I used to look forward to when I was playing in the Championship was when there was no midweek game and you were playing well and you got a Monday off. It was like pennies from heaven. It was the best thing ever, not having to go in on a Monday. morning to train, but because you'd won a game, no midweek, game on. Hallelujah.
Jerry, whose job was it to knock on the door to the manager? That's for that Monday off.
Well, obviously the captain, which when I was in the championship playing for various teams, I was the captain. So, but yeah, so no, it was great because as Wes has just said, even on a Monday, the day before, I'd say a Tuesday game, which predominantly most games are played on, you wouldn't do that intense a training, but you still have to go in, you still have to warm up, you still have to stretch. You still have to go through the basics, the formations, the set pieces. You still have to have the meetings about the opposition. So you're still on, mentally, you're still on point all the time, even though you're not training intensively, if it was just a Saturday game.
One man I know that will have definitely celebrated having a Monday off is Matt Elliott. He's down at St Mary's tonight. No Friday off for you tonight, Matt. I'm sure you had a nice leisurely drive down this afternoon. No, yeah, well, we'll come back. Hopefully, we can't hear Matt. Yeah, he's too busy eating clearly, Matt. So we'll come back to him when we know we can get Matt. But Southampton away on a Friday night. We know there's history there. We'll get to that in just a moment. Every time Southampton will want to play Leicester, they'll always be reminded of this, won't they? Surely that's going to be in their psyche every single game they play. You
would have to think so. It's a motivational too, in some respect for Southampton. Whether or not Russell Martin, uses that, the 9-0 defeat. I don't know. He's a new manager that's come in. He's probably got his own ideas of how he wants to play. How he wants to approach the players, when he's speaking to them, how he gets them into the zone. But as you say, a Premier League record was broken that night for all the wrong reasons when it comes to Southampton. So yeah, it's sort of, it'll always be in the back of their mind when they play Leicester City.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's 3 of the Leicester starters actually tonight. Ndidi, Ricardo, Vardy started that evening. You were on the bench for it as well. So clearly that there are wounds that need to be healed from a Southampton point of view, memories fresh from a Leicester point of view as well.
Yeah, I think probably from Southampton's point of view, they could use it as a motivational tool, and it could be, something that Russell Martin uses to probably, motivate and fire up the crowd also. So it'd be interesting to see, how they start. I think that'd be a great indication to kind of how Southampton will go about this game. But I think, from Leicester's point of view, they just need to remain focused. I think they've had a fantastic start to the season. The defeat last time out for Leicester would have been, a bit of a blow, but on paper, could have got something out of that game. So they want to bounce back definitely, and probably same for Southampton. They had a heavy defeat and they want to bounce back. So it's going to be a really good game. Yeah,
we've been doing enough talking about the 9-0 here in the last couple of minutes. Let's take a look back then at that famous night, just under 4 years ago.
Friday night football on the south coast. Oh, good save, but Chilwell on the rebound. It falls to the feet of Tielemans. 2-0 Leicester City. Comes towards the edge of the penalty area, gets it back and scores. Oh my word! Crosses it in towards Perez. That is perfect from Ayoze Perez. Vardy must score. Jamie Vardy gets it on the act. France gets it into Perez. Great touch. What a goal. Ayoze Perez has a hat-trick. Clips it in. Free header. It's 7. It's Jamie Vardy. Here goes Madison. Oh, there's magic in that right boot. Here he comes. He scores. And Leicester City have 9 and have equalled Manchester United's record for the biggest ever Premier League win.
Yeah, A fantastic record-breaking evening at St Mary's on a Friday night. We said that Burnley game was bad weather. That night at Southampton was even worse for you, sat on the bench having to deal with
I was wrapped up nice and warmed up, enjoying the show.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable night though.
Nah, fantastic night, to score 9 goals away from home, and just looking back at the goals, boys were on fire that day, and the guys on the bench, could just watch and sit back in awe and look at a fantastic team display performance. And I think for me, to keep a clean sheet in that, is special, is what I enjoyed to see as well. So it's a complete performance from the team.
So the only bit missing from that commentary there from Chris Parrott is the reaction from Tony Cotty.
Yeah,
because that was his debut on co-coms for Leicester City, or LCFC radio, and he got the unenviable task of travelling down to Southampton from, where's it, Southend TC lives, so a fair old drag for him. Rain coming down, torrential rain coming down, but then the 9 goals on the back of it. What an evening that was.
Yeah, unforgettable, I think, for everyone that was there, probably from a Southampton fan point of view as well. But it's just one of those, in that time, everything was going so fantastically, wasn't it? It must have been great to have been part of that dressing room.
Yeah, and I think I posted on social media after the game, it was fantastic just to be a part of this unbelievable squad, and, some of the players that, have moved on and done great things, and, the form of the players that they was in at the time, was a sight to behold. And even though I wasn't playing, it's still a pleasure to be a part of that and witness it, and probably to be on the best place sometimes, if you're not playing, to be on the front line on the substitute bench. So incredible team, and I think we finished well in that season, and under Brendan it was great.
Did you learn that, Wes, as you got older, the acceptance of maybe not playing every game? Because I know when I was younger and I wasn't picked to play, I'd be raging and I'd be in the manager's office banging on the door. But as I got a bit older, and you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to play today. I might get a game at the weekend, or I might play next week. And I'm not saying you were happy with it, but I sort of came to accept it in a way, and then make sure that if I was playing the game after, you're going out full, all guns blazing. So how did you react to, say, maybe, I think I'm fit, but the manager not picking you?
Yeah, it's always tough, and early on in my career, you face challenges. It's never just 2 defenders and you're going to be playing all the time. Normally as a centre-half, there's 4 centre-halves vying for those two positions. So you always have to be at your best and prove to the manager you're good enough to start week in, week out. And the longer time goes on and you come to probably the tail end of your career and you're not playing as much, it becomes difficult, because you're used to playing. But at the same time, you have to probably be honest to yourself, and you think, right, I know I'm good, but am I better than what's playing? Am I going to be the best I can be and do what I can for the team? And you always believe in yourself, but at the same time, you're getting a bit slower. The aches, your knees, everything's hurting a little bit, and it's tough.
I think it's a good trait to have, because everybody wants to play. Nobody likes sitting in a dressing room and the manager. It's almost embarrassing as an individual when you should be playing but you're not. But then they accept that and then still be a part of the team, still help the guys that are playing in front of you, because you're probably one of the most experienced players in the squad, and you have to help them. Yeah. So I think it's a really good trait to have. Yeah,
there's a good mix of experience and youth in the Leicester team this evening. We'll get it up on the screen, Wes, for you again. And you talked about the defenders. In your time, usually you were pretty much one of a 2 in a back 4. This team nowadays, would you have liked to play in it as almost it's 3 central defenders, one of the full-backs heads into midfield?
Yeah, I think the modern football, as a centre-half, you're going to be really isolated, you're going to be exposed, and you have to be really confident in your game, and that's the way it is. And I think the players now accept it, and if you want to play, you have to be able to cope with that. And it's I think it's a great way from the stands looking and watching. It's fantastic to see how the game's developed and how the fullbacks are coming in and playing in midfield and add an extra body in there. But at the same time, when it breaks down, I do sometimes have nightmares, you know, because the defenders are exposed. But like I said, you know, the players are very good players, you know, and they should be more than comfortable in dealing with, you know, being exposed 1v1.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's probably the only issue I have is when it breaks down. Because, as you say, it's all right when you've got bags of pace and you can get yourself out of trouble using that. But Leicester aren't blessed with bags of pace in the centre-half position. So for me, I have seen an improvement, which is good, especially at Rotherham. And even against Hull, you know, it was, I wouldn't say it was a freak goal, but there was a big amount of luck involved in that goal. So, but what I'm trying to say is when it breaks down, the centre-halves need to work as a unit, need to work as a team to get themselves out of trouble. In the early stages of the season, we weren't really seeing that. Move on a couple of 3 games, we've started to see a little bit of that. So we need to keep seeing that improvement from the centre-halves.
And probably the international break might have helped that. OK, Callum Doyle went away and made his debut and scored for the under-21s for England, but the others were sort of there, and Enzo probably had, 2 quiet weeks to really drill in his message, because he's not been there long enough to drill that message in.
No, and that's very important, you know, to use that training time to, you know, really embed that message. And Leicester have a way of playing, you know, and everyone has to understand that. And you know, if you can get into position with your eyes closed, you know where your players are going to be, you know, your partner's going to be on the pitch, and you can pass the ball almost blind. It really does help, and that's what it's about, you know, that repetitive training drills, learning, being comfortable with everyone, understanding what everyone and your teammates are all about, and putting that out there on the pitch and producing the goods.
Right, take 2 then, in trying to communicate with the South Coast and with Matt Elliott, who's made that trip down today. Good evening, Matt. Are you there? Can you read us?
Yes, I am here eventually, Daniel. A trip and a half, son. A trip and a half. I've been through Creaky Willow and back a number of times. I was scared for my life on occasion, but I'm here regardless, nonetheless. So
it's funny. It only ever happens to you, Matt, doesn't it?
You got to send me these faraway excursions on purpose just to have a giggle and wind me up, I'm sure.
Is it raining down there, Matt, on the South Coast?
I haven't had time to consider if it's raining or not. I've been that stressed out. I'm pouring with sweat. If that's what, I've got a wet forehead, regardless whether it's raining or not. But Friday night, come on. I'll tell you what, you need to get some Devonian Leicester fan for the Plymouth away game, mate. I'm telling you that. But anyway, on to tonight's pursuit. Is it raining? Is it raining, Chris? It's in the air, isn't it? It's not at the moment. It's like that stormy atmosphere. It's humid. That's part of the reason why I'm sweating walking up a flight of stairs. But the other reason is I'm totally unfit. But yeah, no, the scene is set as usual. Everyone knows what the stadium's like. It's an evening kickoff. The lights are on. Everyone's warming up. You know, two teams that most people expect to be up the top region of this division come the end of the season for the duration of it. So, plenty to play for in this league. It's a big occasion, isn't it? And good to hear from you, Wesley. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Matty. How are you, mate? Long time no see.
I know. I've been missing you. Not that tagger. I've seen too much of it.
You've seen enough of me, haven't you?
Yeah, correct.
Matt, how do you think the game will pan out this evening yourself?
I was talking with Chris Parrott downstairs about the flow of the game, if you like, maybe. And Southampton like to play their football and play quite a lot of intricate passing, in and around the midfield area. And Chris was mulling over whether Leicester might sort of allow them to have a bit more of the ball than they would ordinarily against other teams, but perhaps try and catch them out in that midfield area and break from there. I sort of sway towards the side of Enzo Maresca likes to do what he likes to do, doesn't he? And sort of sticks to his method, come what may. So far anyway. But yeah, that will be interesting to see that, actually, to see whether there is sort of a flexibility in Maresca's approach according to who the other team are, or is he going to say, right, listen, my boys can do what they do better than you, and go up and challenge teams that way. So perhaps a mix of the both. Would be the clever way, because I think Leicester are going to need to play in different ways throughout the course of the season. I mean, I know it sounds a bit easy to compare it to Man City, but there are similarities. But even Man City, play different ways at different times. They go long occasionally, don't they? They press or whatever. They can hit on the counter. No, they like to play their own way. But we'll have to wait and see, Gerald. That was a long answer, and I don't really know.
Yeah. Can you give me an even longer answer to this question, please? So, I was just going to say, who do you see as the main threat for Southampton? Because obviously, Che Adams has had a bit of joy against Leicester, especially last season. And I'm just basically asking, where would you see the main threat coming from tonight for Southampton?
I suppose Che Adams is the obvious man to look at, but I mean, especially it's his hometown club, isn't it? Hometown city, Leicester, and he'll be keen, as he will be in any game, but particularly to sort of get one over, especially as they expect to be rivals up the top of the league. But I mean, Armstrong up alongside him as well. They're quite an intimidating force, really. Plenty of pace, power in Adams's case, and Leicester have been a little bit susceptible when they've lost possession, and they've been a little bit open. And I think at times they've maybe been slightly fortunate even, and have sort of pushed their luck a little bit. But against Armstrong and Adams, if they get left wide open and exposed, then too can be a big problem.
Thank you very much, Matt. We'll let you grab a little bit of food just before we need you again in around about 10 minutes time for commentary this evening for the game, available of course on Fox's Hub. For certain international territories, you can watch the game this evening with a pass on Fox's Hub. You can also listen to it if you're in the UK, or you can listen to it wherever you are as well. Just head to Fox's Hub and you can get all the details on that. Those guys were just talking there about Adam Armstrong, by the way, joint top scorer in the Championship, so it will be a tough test. Let's quickly get a recap then of tonight's team moves, as we are just under 20 minutes away now from kick-off. Enzo Maresca has made 3 changes to the side that lost to Hull a couple of weeks ago. It's Hermansen in goal, Ricardo, Doyle, Vestergaard, Justin across the back 4, Winks, Dewsbury Hall and Ndidi in midfield, with Mavididi and McAteer either side of Jamie Vardy. From a Southampton point of view, we've just spoken about the threats that they have, particularly going forward with Adams and Armstrong. It's at the back though where they've struggled this season. They've conceded 12 goals in their 5 games. Manning, Harwood, Bellis, Charles and Walker-Peters are in front of goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu. Downs, Armstrong and Smallbone, and Fraser and Adoze in behind that man, Shea Adams, of course, who scored at King Power Stadium last season. We're nearing the end, obviously, and we're getting closer and closer to kick off. This is the sort of time where the players will be heading in and hearing from Enzo those final thoughts. And it's a big game, and they'll know it's a big game.
Yeah, it's a big game. To face former opposition in the Premier League and to face them in the Championship, and everyone knows, probably the 2 teams are tipped to do well this season and expected to go up. So, to be on the nose. International duty, so I don't know if that influences Enzo's decision to probably give him a rest, and probably Iniacho's been away, and Vardy's gone up front, which is I think he started the first game of the season, so he's back in, probably with a bit of a point to prove, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he does.
That'll be an interesting one, Jerry, against a team, as we've just referenced there, have got the worst defensive record in the division. Yeah, again, I think Wes mentioned it a bit earlier in the show. It'll be interesting to see how both teams start this game. The onus is on, you would think, Southampton as a home team, after coming off the back of that thrash. When you look at their squad and their line up there, and you think to yourself, how have they just got, 5-0 at Sunderland? So there's obviously, creaks within that starting team for Southampton, but they've obviously got attacking prowess as well. So
It'll just be very interesting to see how Leicester start, because for me they've got to start well. If they want to play their football, then they're going to have to get a grip of the game nice and early.
But both teams will obviously really want the ball. I'm looking at the stats from that 5-0 defeat away from home at Sunderland. Southampton had 68% of the ball that day and still lost 5-0. Leicester will want to dominate possession tonight. Both teams can't do that.
Yeah, I think it's quite similar styles,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of possession-based football, patient, build up, creating opportunities, look for opportunities. It'd be interesting to see if one team probably concedes a bit of ground in terms of letting them have the ball at the back until they advance into, you know, the midfield area. Be interested to see the tactical game.
I guess who
today.
blinks first, really?
Well, there you go. You know, they'll be aware of how they've started, how each other are playing. But I think Leicester will remain and do what they've done throughout the season and what I've seen from them so far. You know, so if they can implement that or implement their style on Southampton and make it work. But you have to be aware that Southampton know their game, know how they want to build up, and will set traps. So it'll be interesting to see how it starts, like Jerry said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I forgot what I was going to say then, but no, I think, you know, Enzo's not going to change his style of football. No chance.
Yeah.
So he's going to. So then, does that give Southampton's manager the edge, knowing that he knows that they're going to play? They're not going to concede ground. They're going to do exactly what they've done since the beginning of the season. Russell Martin. Does that give him the edge? We'll have to wait and see. Now, they score goals. They score a lot of goals. I think they've scored 11 in the league, something like that. Is it 10 or 11 goals anyway? So they score a lot of goals, even though they concede a lot. So
10.
obviously
10. So 2 a game.
10.
Yeah.
10. So it's two goals a game. So you take away that 5-0 defeat against Sunderland, they've only lost that one game in the league. They've drawn a couple, won a couple. So it's going to be a really, really close game. For me, it may well boil down to mistakes. Who makes the least amount? Because it sounds to me like both teams make a lot of mistakes, and they're probably made while they're in possession of the ball, i.e. a misplaced pass, or someone doesn't read the body language of the other player who's passing the ball. The guy who's receiving it makes a different run. Possessions turned over, teams hitting them on the counter-attack. So be really interesting to see how this one goes.
Yep, a mistake or a moment of quality. Leicester have got that in their ranks.
Yeah, I think they've got that in abundance, you know, going forward, especially looking at the wide plays, you know, you expect that moment of brilliance to come from them. And we've seen glimpses of that so far this season from individuals that's playing, which is great. And, you know, I think from defensive point of view, you know, if they can be sure with the passing, make sure they're in the right positions in case anything breaks down, and recover to, you know, recover from their mistakes. Yeah. I think it could come down to that, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yep, a very intriguing game awaits down on the South Coast on this Friday evening. Any repeat of what happened 4 years ago would be pretty special again. We're counting down now up until kickoff. Don't forget, wherever you are, this game is available for you on Fox's Hub, either to watch or to listen. Here's a little explainer of what's available for you tonight and how you can follow all the action with us tonight.
If you are watching on lcfc.com, just sit back and relax. If you are watching on social media, the live stream will finish shortly. If you want to continue enjoying our coverage, you'll need to head over to lcfc.com/Fox's Hub and purchase one of our game passes. If you are watching in a territory where the game isn't live on TV, you'll be able to watch a live video stream on Fox's Hub. Please visit lcfc.com/territories to check. If you can't find your location, live audio commentary is still available. You'll need to have an lcfc.com account before you purchase your Game Pass. If you already have one, please sign in and select your product at lcfc.com/Fox's Hub. Select the Buy button and you'll be taken to the payment page. Once you've followed the simple payment steps, press Continue at the bottom of the screen and you'll be taken to the Fox's Hub homepage. If you purchased a video pass, please select Watch Live from the Fox's Hub drop-down menu. If you purchased a Listen Live pass,